The waters of two oceans come together in the canal that has swayed my country's history and the story of my parents. I wonder if their story echoes history, or if it is the other way around. My mother America, my mother America. My father Memo, my father Memo. But what are memories? Just cargo of my mother America. For the vessel of oblivion, my father Memo. My oldest image in life rotates around this column, this house, this memory. But like my mother fatherland, my family develops in perplexing ways. Now that house and column are gone, the memory is left here. If this was once my house, where was the yard inhabited by monkeys, squirrels, iguanas and cats? Was this the terrace covered with clotheslines to which we ran with every storm? And this, the room where I was conceived. But of all the things that could have stood on the ground where I once grew up, commodified happiness is not the worst choice of all. I remember the first time I saw him as if it were an old 8mm film, scratched and grainy. Memo came cuddled in the arms of an enormous nurse, carried effortlessly up the stairs to the apartment America had rented, while we waited for our own house, number 67, the one with the Solomonic column, the one leased to strangers. It wasn't, of course, the first time that I saw him, or the first time that I recall him. I remember Remember words: brain stroke, right lobe, infirm Memo. Memo vanished to the hospital where he had once healed the sick. Memo the doctor turned Memo the patient. Memo the father, Memo the son. 4 months earlier, he scoffed at the hotel, the very moment of his stroke. A man has a plan, the canal, Panama. A man has a plan to dig a canal through a place called Panama. There was at the time another stroke. A great nation ruled by military men and spies imposed a spy and a military man as the ruler of my small nation. Years later, after my flight, they would betray him, as they had betrayed his predecessors. Backwards, forwards, the history of Panama repeats itself. A man to catch, a plan to invade, a canal to protect, at the sake of Panama. A great nation prepares war. Our small nation, already at war. My mother America told me that, before his mind was struck, Memo had been son Costa Rican, poor, student, peasant, teacher, football player, scholarship recipient, university student, zoologist, laboratory technician, husband, father, godfather, Panamanian, cardiologist, internist, grandfather, geriatrics doctor, husband, retiree, patient, farmer, painter, and poet. My mother America never told me what she herself had been. For his mother Elena, self-taught teacher and herbalist healer, Memo the poet once wrote, "Del otro lado del patio están tumbando limones. Túmbenlos o no los tumben, no hay como la mamá de uno." America also told me that Memo was a maker of guesses and riddles. One of his riddles returns to my memory. Líquido perlático de la consorte del toro, a 85% de humedad ambiente, 30 metros sobre el nivel del mar y 35 grados centígrados de temperatura. In 1927, and with 21 years of age, Memo the poor man runs away from poverty. Memo the peasant leaves with a scholarship to study natural sciences in Brussels. Memo the student receives a belated letter about a distant accident. Memo the scientist would never see his mother Elena alive again. Always foresighted, America purchased a piece of land, a small plot of land of about... We have christened it the condominium, but nobody wants to move in there. I for one told America I didn't plan on being the first.
Would you count with me? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
For any move there is permanent, into tiny underground apartments. America was born on the 445th anniversary of the discovery of the continent America by Christopher Columbus, hence her second name. She was lucky. She could have been called, or even Colombia is a beautiful name, but in Panama it would be like christening an Irish woman England, an Angolan woman Portugal, an Algerian or a Vietnamese woman France, a Basque woman Spain. I remembered I had only one image of Memo that moved, though all others were moving to me. I realize now that there are several moving images of him, all of them different from the one I remembered. With the passing years, an image that does not even exist became my only moving image of Memo before the stroke of his mind. His healthy face, his thinking eyes, his chin without drool, his walk without help, his shoe without braces, his long trousers, his conscious mind, his able thinking eyes, his healthy face, his thinking eyes, his chin without trousers, his long trousers, his able left arm. His healthy face, his able left arm, his thinking eyes, his able left arm, his chin without drool, his able left arm, his walk without help, his able left arm, his shoe without braces, his able left arm, his long trousers, his able left arm, his conscious mind, his able left arm, his able left arm. I barely have any visions of America before Memo's mind was struck. I have no visions. I have no visions. I have no visions of America. Perhaps because I remember her exposing my recollections. After Memo's stroke, America, my mother, became America, Memo's mother. Memo my father, Memo my son. But what does that make America towards me? What was I? I was mute for a decade. Now that I am the one exposing us, how do I stop America from striking a pose? In all my flights, I've never known storms like yours, in no corner of the world. Rain like yours. Thunder like yours. Like your lightning. Lightning. A short time after the stroke of Memo's mind, I listened to one of your distant thunderstorms. My second oldest sister, whom I shall call Fania, warned me. Pay close attention. She was right. Your thunderbolts fell precisely every 5 seconds on my shooting range nation. What are shooting ranges?
These are areas close to your community, used for military practices, with all kinds of weapons for a long time.
What is unexploded ordnance?
It is weapon ammunition that did not explode when used, and that lies hidden by the vegetation, ready to blow up if a careless child touches it, steps on it.
Where do we find unexploded ordnance?
In any place within the restricted areas. It is hidden under the soil or grass.
Who are at greatest risk?
Oye, ¿y la nieta que nació, la que fue varón o niña?
Niña.
Niña.
Está en Panamá. Ya se fue el sábado, están en Panamá, en Santa Librada.
And it looked like a simple little toy.
Like his 13 brothers and sisters, Memo was born without mouth or lips. When he came out of the womb of his mother Elena, the midwife made an incision under his nose with an old machete, so he could eat Costa Rican tortillas and recite his riddles and poems. America, quite the contrary, has exquisite lips that used to deny me her story.
5,
Of my lips I shall not speak,
4,
but when I stopped being hairless,
3,
the shape of my fatherly chest hair
2,
reminded me of the advances
1.
of humanity. The closest I ever saw America to tears was her silence. When our eldest sister fled and married without her consent. To make things worse, the groom was so-called black, something that might have been intolerable to a so-called healthy Memo. But Memo, like every man and woman in Panama, would have denied any racism. Today, America swims and plays with the offspring of that union, her beloved grandchildren. And yet occurrences such as these are not strange in America, a strong, beautiful, and otherwise intelligent continent. Now that I am the one exposing us, how do I stop America from striking a pose? A big brother takes his small brother into a coffee field and knows him. A great nation, a small nation, known, tainted. A big brother, his small brother. A coffee field, a great nation, a small nation, known, tainted. A big brother, his small brother. He wonders, does his story echo history? Or is it the other way around? After waking Memo up and cleaning his feces in the mornings, America and I used to joke, if shit was worth as much as oil, we'd be millionaires. Memo laughed himself to tears, but 2 or 3 more times per day he would offer us fresh reserves of worthless crude. Ever since I was little, I expected with horror the day when it would be my turn to work Memo's oil rigs. My 3 sisters grew beautiful and completed their oily tours of duty, bringing me closer and closer to my own. I hated the toxic fumes from the fossil fuel, which provoked dry heaves in me. But as so often happens with far too many things in life, I got used to cleaning the endless production of his well. Then came the end. The end of Panama, and its beginning. In her midnight stupor, my second oldest sister, whom I shall call Fania, mistook the thunderbolts of apocalypse with America's beating heart.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Would you count with me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Would you count with me? Will you button my red pocket, please? Will you tie my green boot, please?
I can't remember the last time I saw him, because another occurrence caught my attention. I returned to Panama 9 days after the military invasion of the United States of America. 9 days after the sacrifice of my shooting range nation. 9 days during which 500 or 2,000 or 4,000 Panamanians were killed. Their great nation, our small nation, known, tainted. Can I retaliate with memories? I have been mute for a decade. Another occurrence caught my attention, and memory remained ignored by my cameras. I can no longer recall the last time I saw him. I did not realize I would never see him alive again.
George Bush, que ojalá a sus hijos no le pase lo que le está pasando a mi hija, que no desea vivir. Que ojalá su generación no pase la que va a pasar la generación de nosotros. Que le pida esto a Dios y que le pida mucho perdón por todo el daño que le ocasionó a muchos familiares aquí.
The waters of two oceans come together in the canal that has swayed my country's story and the history of my parents. I wonder if its story echoes their history, or if it is the other way around. My father Memo, whose heart gave up. My mother America, who lives on and on. And I, remembering these memories.